Karen Bonafilio, Inner Realms, Outer Journeys. We have a treat for you today. This is Mars Amante. I got to tell you, right there, the name, I love it. Mars, would you like to say hello before we start?
Hi, friends. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to
Oh,
be here.
I'm so excited. Now, Mars and I met happenstance. And as you know how I feel, there is no happenstance, there is no coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. But I met her, was it called We Fair?
MeWe, Metaphysical
MeWe.
Wellness.
MeWe. It was so kind of a weird name. MeWe. And we met there. And it was kind of funny. I went in the venue looking at the different vendors, seeing what they were like. And she got a box with a sandwich in it, and the box had a name on it that was very close to my last name. So I knew that we were supposed to meet, and I'll put a picture of the box up at the end of the video so you can see what I was talking about. So let me tell you a little bit about Mars. She is a lifelong witch and a healer. Her practice has deep roots in nature and a focus on the self empowerment and healing with the mind body soul connection. Her specialties include intuitive magic, divination, body energy healing, and shadow work. And I'm not even sure, Mars, I know what shadow work is. So I'm going to have to ask you about that. First of all, we're going to cover what a witch is because God, Wizard of Oz, we got Glenda the Good Witch, and then we got the Bad Witch. So please define witch for us.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned Glinda because she was so influential as what, like Aggie Cromwell as well. Like, I feel like I was raised by witches in the media.
Oh,
I think witch as a term can be different for everyone. Typically, people associate it with women, but I think it's a broader term. It's
mm-hmm.
really, to me, I think we're all magical beings. We're in this magical universe, and witch is just me kind of claiming that power and saying, I believe in this connection. I'm going to lead with this power, lead with this connection. And it just feels kind of genuine to my soul. And there's a lot of terms to describe the magic or the energy work, but witch just always felt like me. And it might be like my Halloween goth loving heart. But I also do consider myself to be a generational witch, where my mom kind of uses the term witch, my grandmother not so much, but my grandmother talks to plants, and I grew up with that like it was normal, and my mom does the same. And I've kind of seen this like connection to the land and connection to magic just through the generations. And then
Yeah,
my mom leaned more into it with spell books and tarot, and so I kind of just fully embraced it with my own identity.
that is fabulous. I mean,
Love
it
that. Yeah.
seriously is that you grew up in that too. That's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
think it's more common than people realize. Like, if you grew up with superstition, or if you, like I said, just casually talking to plants or animals, things like that, where we kind of put this mundane glaze over it. But when you look at it for what it is, it's magic and connection and alchemy, and
It
what is
is
the basis of our universe. So,
very magical. And I know people that have grown up talking to animals thinking that everybody talks to them. And then they realize, no, not everybody does. And same with plants and such too.
Mhm.
Okay, what is shadow work?
Oh, okay. For me, shadow work has been the basis of my healing. I think it's kind of similar to parts therapy, this idea that there's so many parts that make us up, and sometimes they contradict, and it's important to not over identify with one single part. And with shadow work, that is integrating the parts of us that are heavy or that we would consider bad or negative. Things like our
Oh,
trauma selves, our triggered selves, things like I carry this wound from childhood, and every behavior or thought that comes from that, it could count as a shadow. But I've actually recently been learning that every shadow can also reveal some light, and so you could say, oh, I have this shadow of maybe being controlling. I need to control everything so that I can feel safe. And I got this from whatever, a childhood wound or a relationship, anything like that. But the
mm-hmm.
flip side is like, I can create structure out of thin air, and I can live my life with this sense of stability and being able to control the magic around me and have these manifestations. So it's all about acknowledging the parts that we don't want to acknowledge, that don't get a lot of light on them, and then seeing the light behind it, because we need the light to see the shadow and vice versa. And it's all about integrating all of these parts of ourselves so that we can acknowledge the whole. And that was just pivotal to my healing. And I think the more we can accept our own shadows and our own, all of the many parts that we have, even when they contradict, it makes it easier to be in community, because then you can connect with other people and you can see their shadow, or how, oh, you were just driving with your ego instead of your soul for a bit, but I can make space for that. I know what that's like. So it's really just integrating every part of our soul so that we can kind of live in our wholeness.
Okay, so I know that you do psychic work, and I know that you do mediumship. Is shadow work integrated with that, or is that separate? Do people come to you just for shadow work also?
They do. So they are separate, but I will say with the mediumship, a lot of grief comes up. And for a lot of people, grief
Oh.
can be considered a shadow, especially we're in a culture right now where grief really doesn't get dealt with, or there's this idea
Mhm.
that if you just give it time and bury it down, you don't have to deal with it. But I've experienced loss in my own life, and I learned that grief is just, it's like where our love was going. It's our love with nowhere to go, our love reflected back at us. And so where I lost this being, I now have grief as this lifelong friend that, yeah, sometimes it wrecks me. It's really hard, but to experience grief and walk with it, and it's kind of like a calmness. Or if you think of like the Grim Reaper, how everyone's like, oh, it's so scary, it's coming to take your life. But really, it's like, even in death, there's a calming presence that's there to hold your hand and walk you through it. And our grief can become that if we work with it and integrate it and allow it. So in that way, grief can be a shadow for sure. But the light shadow of that is that I have so much love that I'm allowed to feel this grief so heavily right now. And so that integration is really important. But I do it separately, because shadow work can also include, like, my self-love journey has been really difficult. I don't have the self-esteem that I wish I would. I have abandonment wounds. Like, there's the shadows, there's limitless, endless shadows, in the same way that we are limitless and we have endless parts. So separate, but together, I guess.
I find this fascinating. So, do people, when they come to you, do they recognize their shadows, or do they not recognize their shadows? Or I've just never heard of this. So,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just,
that's an interesting question. And I
yeah.
think part of my practice has been learning when people are ready to meet certain things. So people come to me for tarot, but they don't always realize the depth that my readings will take. So if you sit with
Oh,
me, yes, we can look forward at what your career is going to do, if money's coming, if romance is coming, things like that. But it can also say, hey, I can see that you really want romance, but why don't you feel deserving of the love that you're asking for? And so we're uncovering these shadows as we go through the reading, and they're channeled. I'll get messages from source or the universe, your guides, ancestors, like tapping into all of that. And all of that becomes a part of the healing. But
wow.
whether or not the person who sits with me is ready to start that journey or do that work, it really just depends. And it does get tricky because I can't control what comes up in the reading, but I
No.
do have to see, oh, this person, I handed them this, and it's their job to take it or leave it. And when I see that they're consistently leaving it, then I'm like, okay, let me pull back. Maybe you're wanting more surface level, because the key of shadow work is you have to be willing to go on that journey, because it's scary,
That's
it's heavy,
deep.
it's not common work that we deal with from the day to day. In fact, a
Mhm.
lot of our life today kind of depends on us to ignore these things so that we can keep surviving, keep going through the day. So sitting with me,
No,
it's
that's,
asking a lot energetically, but I feel that it's worth it, because you
oh
leave
my God,
knowing
yes.
yourself more, even just a little more.
So, do you lead with tarot and then take it from there?
So tarot it's kind of a tool that helps bring in the messages and bring in more specifics. I use oracle cards as well, but I
Hmm.
have done sessions where it's just, let me tap into your energy for a second
Right.
and tell you what the universe wants to come through. And
Okay. So,
often with the tarot, a person will sit in front of me and I'll go ding, 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 ding. Like, I know all these things that I need to say to them, but then the tarot is a tool where I'm 100% sure this deck is about to say exactly what I need to say to you. But now there's a third party you can get mad at instead of me. But it kind of helps people see it's like this tangible thing, and the magic to it of all the cards you could have drawn. I drew the one that pulled exactly what you were dealing with this week. And now you have something, a piece of art you can look at. and we can go in this together and we can kind of process together. And I think that's the core. I did start my business with tarot, and it's just expanded as I have allowed myself to stand in my power. But the tarot is something that's semi-familiar to people, and it kind of helps dip your toes into this work.
Gosh, I wish I would have sat down with you that day.
Oh, never too late, my friend. We'll meet up.
Oh, I know it's never too late. I know it's never too late. And do you record your sessions too for people?
I do online. Like, I'll come meet you if you're in the Portland area or surrounding. I can send recordings and do live videos. I used to type them out, but that was a lot.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
Are you kidding?
It's not so easy to just get a block of information. It's a lot easier to have me there. And then I can answer questions. I can repeat things a different way so that it lands a little easier, a little softer. So.
Oh, so people that are not in the area can access you that way too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I am going to start doing live readings as well. I'm working on a YouTube channel. I think you inspired me a lot with that. I kept thinking that I should or I could, but then I saw you like, you're doing the damn thing, babe. And I needed to stand in that power too. And one of my shadows was fear of being seen, because I worry about being misunderstood or being judged or I'm a woo-woo person, all these things.
People are going to judge you no matter what.
Exactly. And so the more I stand in my power, the more I find my people. And part of that is allowing visibility and allowing people to see me, because there's someone out there waiting for something that I have to say. And that's been something I'm trying to understand and embody.
So if I can make a recommendation,
please
start with doing some reels and putting those up and doing that. I don't know if you're on Facebook or Instagram.
Oh,
I don't know what social media you're on, but start doing that and getting comfortable just being in front of the camera too. And then start doing the Facebook. Yeah. And I always thought, who's going to listen to me? I'm a nobody. And you know what? Those guides will talk to their guides and they will lead them to you. So, yeah. And you gave me a great perspective when I told you, when I minimized myself, you gave me a great perspective. So,
yeah. I'm
kudos
grateful.
to you. Thank you.
And now here you are returning it to me. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have wanted to do more lives on Instagram. I actually just added something to my website. It's called Ask Mars. And I call it an advice column with the universe. So people can submit their questions or situations where they're wanting advice, and they're getting free channeled messages basically. But I need to find you live.
I need to find you so I can add you. And if you go on Facebook, I got a big following there, so I can put you up on there too.
Oh, excited. I appreciate it. Oh, wow. Okay. You see, you ask for visibility and it comes as soon as you allow it.
Yeah. My dog just came in to visit.
I saw he was thinking about treats for a second there.
Yeah, there she is. Okay. So, Mars, let me ask you. I kind of know the answer, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How did you discover your psychic abilities? Because you do communicate with animals. So let's talk about animals, because this one usually doesn't come in when I'm talking to people, but you came in when you did. So how did you discover?
This is my favorite feedback. When I show up and they're like, wow, they don't usually act this way with company. My ego just gets so boosted. I think I've always naturally communicated with animals. To me, humans are animals. I know we love to believe that there's this huge separation, but a huge part of my healing was realizing my body is a soft animal, just like my cat. And so the biggest part of stepping into this role as animal communicator was just realizing that it was a role that existed, and I had to have confidence and be willing to be wrong or seem, again, with this visibility wound, be willing to be misunderstood. So it's really just, I went from the weird kid at the party that's talking to cats the whole time to like, oh, actually, people want to know what their animals have to say, and I can tell them. So I've always had a soft spot for the earth in general, all of its creatures. And so I love that now I get to foster connection and harmony in households. I've been able to work through animals carry trauma in the same way that we do.
Yes.
For example, I met this dog who had been rehomed like 2 or 3 times. And she was in this home where the mom was kind of worried about her, but the dad was seeing misbehavior and getting upset. And this dog was walking around every day thinking like, there anything I could do could get me put out of this house. Like I could, if I bark too
Oh.
loud, like just so afraid to just exist, you know? And
Hmm.
being able to say that, hey, this weighs heavily on the dog. Now the dad has way more patience and they're giving more validation. Like, hey, there's nothing you could do that would make you not a part of our family. You're always going to be here. We always love you. And the amount of peace that comes from that. And then again,
Yeah.
harmony in the household and connection. And now this animal is being held in the way that it needs to be. It's just so rewarding for me. So like being a voice for the voiceless, but I will say animals speak
Yeah.
to us all the time. It's really just about opening yourself up to listening and learning
Hmm.
to speak their language instead of
Hmm.
expecting our own cues from them. But it takes a lot of openness and patience, which again, in our society right now, openness and patience are not top priority. So
Well,
it's
I
nice
think
to kind of
people are
bridge the
getting
gap.
there. Yeah, and they love their animals. They want to do as well as they could. And I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
imagine an animal being rehomed that so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine rehoming an animal. I
I feel the
can't.
same. I know everyone has different circumstances, you
Yes,
know,
they do.
and
They do.
sometimes it can be the best for the animal. That
Yeah.
doggo is just like, what do I keep doing wrong? Like, and
Mm.
that's something that I felt in my own relationships. Like, but then I also meet dogs where
Sorry. Sorry. I am thinking, have I been rehomed? Yeah,
who
I
would
have.
we all go through
Sorry.
very similar things. No worries at all. And that's why I kind of like that my work, I do this communication, which is like the psychic connection, but I do it for humans too. And I do this energy work for animals, but I do it for humans too, because we're all from the same energy source, going through the same things, like, you know,
So you can also do this
connection.
remotely with the animals.
Mhm. I
So can you
can.
kind of describe the process that someone could expect when you do that with an animal?
Yeah. I love to tell people to come with questions.
Okay.
I am very passionate about animal husbandry, and chances are, if you're experiencing undesirable behaviors, it's a husbandry issue. So I love troubleshooting things like that, troubleshooting animal cohabitation with like new roommates, or working with, say, you want to get a new pet, you have no idea what to buy, how to incorporate them into your new household. I love doing work like that.
Hmm.
Um, Particularly cats and dogs, but I'm also good with like small rodents, reptiles, like anything in the realm of herpetology.
Really?
Yeah, I grew up wanting to work in zoos, and I think I just found a way to make that work for me now.
Hmm.
But in the sessions, it just feels like a conversation. We all sit down together, and sometimes the animal will take a bit to open up. It's kind of like, would you want to just bare your soul to a stranger? Um, and it's interesting to see how willing some are versus some that are kind of shy, and it's nice to watch them open up, but it really just flows like a conversation. And I think animals get used to being talked about like they're not there, you know, we're talking about the dog, what to do with the dog, and he's sitting right there listening.
The
But
whole
this
time.
conversation includes them.
Hmm.
And I will say, sitting with your ego and maybe being able to hear ways that you could be a little bit better or improving how you're treating the animal or working with the animal, in particular around patience and behavior modeling, because it's kind of like toddlers. Like your reactive dog is having big feelings. So do you have the space to hear that you need to be the one to step up and the animal's not the one in the wrong here, you know? So just being really willing to and open to hear what your animal has to say without judgment of yourself or the animal.
Which can be hard for people too.
Mhm.
Well,
And even in our human connections, it's difficult, but it's or worth it because you get this deepened connection and everyone feels safer.
yeah, and I know when I come home and if I don't give them that attention or if I'm too rushed or something, they're looking at me like, "Mom, that's not what we do. You know, you love and you give me that attention and I need it." So
I waited for you to get home all day.
I know,
That's the
and,
thing,
and I
too.
need
Animals don't
to.
understand why we rush so much. And I say this all the time, nothing in nature rushes. Everything's at its own pace. So your dog really doesn't get it when you're speeding out of the house and you forget to say goodbye. But the thing is, they also don't hold resentment. They're just excited to connect with you the next time, you
I'm
know?
so glad they live in the moment. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad that they do that. Yeah.
It's really cool to see their minds, how they process things like death and connection. It's like similar but very different. They have a lot more radical acceptance and understanding. I feel like humans have way more ego that we have to sift through in order to get to that level of acceptance. So,
And I think it's lovely to talk to them and have them just kind of look at you and, like they're engaging with you. And
you know what's funny? Sometimes animals, I actually live with a dog now. He doesn't like when I speak for him. He's kind of like, get out of my head, okay? I can tell her myself. Like, and I'm like, okay, I respect that. And
oh,
versus so there's two dogs I live with now, and one of them is very quiet. I just thought she didn't want to talk to me, or maybe she wasn't so present. But as soon as I realized she's just shy, I swear she blossomed like a flower. She talks to me all the time now.
oh, good.
So it is interesting seeing how they respond to being heard, like truly.
Well, I cannot recommend this enough of meeting with someone about animals because it has helped me so much with my animals. And it
Oh,
really has. Yeah.
I'm grateful. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it really does. So I'm glad that you're able to do that.
Me too. It fulfills my soul.
I can tell you have a really loving, soft personality. Yeah.
Thank you. I've worked very hard to be soft, or to let myself be soft, because the world it can be not so soft sometimes.
Well, yeah, I understand. But I felt that between, that was your husband that I met, wasn't it?
Best friend, partner, yes.
Yeah, it felt just like a beautiful connection that you two had.
It is.
It,
I really love our connection.
yeah, it was a beautiful connection. Yeah.
Thank you.
It felt good to be in that space with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, that means a lot. Fostering and holding space, it's very important to me. So to hear that it translates well really
Hmm.
matters to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It was nice. Okay. So let's go into your psychic mediumship. Can you tell a memorable experience that you had while
Oh,
practicing psychic mediumship?
okay. I had two that immediately came to mind, but
Ooh,
they're all
share 'em
exciting
both.
in their own way. The first one, it was a very recent death, and it was very tragic, and this person was very young, and it was kind of like a perfect storm situation.
Mm.
But that session, I she was coming through me so strong. I was speaking for her. I was saying, I'm so sorry this happened. I can't believe, like, and
Hmm.
it was that's when I learned energetic grounding, which I already had this practice of ground and center because I'm a channel. I can't be taken over like that because
Oh, you
I'm an
channel
empath.
too?
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I'm an empath. I'm very emotional already, and I'm picking up on the emotion of the grief of the living person that I'm sitting with. Um,
Hmm.
and then on top of that, to have someone come through so strong, it was like it was beautiful because I could hold that space, but it was a wake up call that I needed to be very strict about my grounding and my boundaries when I'm talking to the deceased. Because yes, you saw this open channel, you wanted to talk to your parents. I understand that, but I'm a person. It took me days to recalibrate after that. I was
Oh,
crying for days
wow.
after that. So it was, like I said, beautiful experience, heart opening. I was in my purpose for sure, but it did show me I had a lot to learn about this work and a lot to be
Hmm.
protecting myself um, and so on. But the second experience, I I have a belief in the afterlife that we manifest our afterlife in the same way that we do our waking life, our living life. So
Really?
whatever you believe in, I think there's space for every religion, every spiritual person's belief in the afterlife. I think there's space for it all because your living reality is it's different in a million ways than the person that lives next door to you. So why can't there be space like that in the afterlife?
Hmm.
This person, it was so I was talking to this deceased person, and they were just sitting on a dock at a lake at sunset, and it was just the most
Beautiful.
calm, serene energy that I've ever felt. And I just remember thinking, this is this person's heaven. Like I just got to sit with this person and their manifestation of a heaven afterlife. And
Wow.
I still think about that. And of course, the
Hmm.
living person, you're happy to hear my loved one feels peace. But to be able to share in that peace in that moment was incredible. And to get such a strong visual, like I still remember the colors and the reflection of the light on the water, and
Sounds
I'm about
beautiful.
to cry. Yeah. It was really beautiful. And it gave me a lot of hope. I have a lot of religious trauma, so I had to divorce myself from like heaven and hell and all these things. But to see a manifestation that this is your own personal slice of peace in heaven, it has nothing to do with a higher power, it has nothing to do with how you lived your waking life. It was just a lot of relief to see that manifested in a way that kind of resonated with me. And it solidified my idea that there's space for everyone's afterlife. Whatever you think is going to happen to you is probably what will happen.
Well, question for you then, because I've heard that what you believe in, you will see when you pass. So if you're highly religious, you will be greeted by Jesus or the saints or whatever you think, and other people believe other things.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, does it come to formulate where it all comes together, where you're reunited with your family members and the people of your soul team? Um,
Wow.
are you at that
Yeah.
lake until you're
It,
ready to move past that type of thing?
oh, like into the great beyond, the idea of
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I do. Okay. So I've felt,
kind of deep. Sorry.
no, I love, this is what I live for, please. I'm trying to find the words because I felt so many different variations. Like, for the most part, it feels like a very individual journey. But then
Mhm.
I have met people where, yeah, this person showed up and there was a dog with them. And it was like, wow, that was our dog in life. And now so they do unite. But I do
Yes.
get a lot of just individuals floating. And then I did get that person who was just clearly in their own version of heaven and not really present. And I do
Mhm.
sense it where I'll sit down and it's, no, this person isn't around you on the day to day, but every time you think of them, they come to you. So
Okay.
it's such a mix of all these different things. And I haven't hit a point where I haven't been able to connect with someone. So I don't know if this great beyond or through the veil is a place that you go and you can't come back from. I don't know if that's true because I've been able to connect. They come when you call them. So I think
Okay.
whatever realm it is, it's something that we can move back and forth between. But it's kind of hard to conceptualize. And I've seen so many or felt so many variations of this that it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to pin down like a specific rule of what happens when you die.
But that's good because you're creating that reality.
Yeah, all the fun happens in the gray area, in the ambiguity and the not knowing.
I've already told my guides what I want, and my spirit angels, those angels that keep you here and don't let you die until it's your. I already told them what I want when I die. You know.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
okay, it might be personal. I was like, oh, I'd so love to hear this, but
Do you want to know?
I
Okay,
would
I
love
told.
to.
Okay, first thing, I want to go to the galaxies. I want to go out to all the stars, all the galaxies. I want to see the beauty of the universe. I want to experience that miracle. Take me through
Yeah.
all of that. And then when you take me to the heavenly realms, I want to see all my animals first. I want all my animals in all my lifetimes to come to
Oh,
me.
yeah. Oh, I love
Then,
this.
oh my
Yeah.
God, yes, I want my animals. Then bring me my family members. Then I'll take my family members. But I want the expansiveness and the expansion, and then my animals. And I know my animals have created in each lifetime too. And that's what I want. And then I
Oh,
don't care. You can do whatever you want after that.
I love, you're like, give me one last party with everyone I love and some really
Yes.
good views. And
Yes.
then
Yes.
whatever. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. That's what I want. Yeah.
Funny enough, I have not thought that much about what I might want. So this is inspiring for me. I'll have to do some thinking.
I gotta tell you, Mars, I think about death every day because I embrace death. And I know you don't know my story and you don't know my history, but I live 1 foot there and 1 foot here. And I find the afterlife beautiful. And people say, you shouldn't dwell on that. And I say, I don't, well, I guess maybe I do, but I also know what it offers, you know?
It's beautiful to think and speak about these things because the idea, you're not going to bring death sooner just because you're talking about it. But if you have
No.
a death plan in place, when you do die, your family is going to have a lot of comfort and stability because this was talked about before it happened. And the more we
Right.
talk about things, the more we normalize it. And it
Yeah.
can feel safe and it can feel comfortable because death is life. It's the exact two sides of the same coin. And
Yes.
that's, I think I'm a death worker, but I'm a life worker.
Mm-hmm.
So to really love life and think that you have to reject death is just not, in my opinion, how it works. Like the wheel's always turning. We need both energies at all times. And the more
But
we talk about
some
it,
people
the
do
easier it
fear
is.
death.
Yeah, it's nothing to fear. If anything, sometimes it brings me comfort in that it's something in life that's a guarantee. There's not many guarantees. But to know that one day my body will return to the earth, and
Mm-hmm.
there's also this thing that helps me cope, is knowing every feeling, every situation is temporary. And death is what
Right.
gives us that relief
Right.
to know everything is temporary. Death is
Mm-hmm.
what teaches you to live your life more fully. It's kind of like the shadow and the light we were talking about earlier. You need both in
Yes.
order to have this whole experience.
Mm-hmm.
But I understand the superstition and the fear, but you think about it, maybe we're scared because we're not talking about it and it doesn't get to feel normal. It doesn't get to feel okay. And there are a lot of cultures, indigenous cultures and places all around the world where death is a celebration. People get
Right.
excited for it, and
Yes.
it gets to
Yes.
be just as vibrant as life is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like death is a
Mm-hmm.
very underappreciated worker.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm
I
going to
love that
tell
you
you.
have embraced.
So there's a fella, I can't name him, and he has predicted when people would die, and he knows when he's going to die.
Wow.
And I said, "Can you tell when I'm going to die?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, tell me." And he goes, "I'm not going to tell you." And I said, "Well, I want to check out between 68 and 72. I'm 69 now." I said, "I'm still going to be feeling."
I love this for you. She knows what she wants, okay?
I said, "I'm still going to be feeling good. I'm still going to have this." He goes, "No, you're going to live a lot longer." I said, "Okay, 85." He goes, "No." I go, "Come on." 95. I go, "Oh, for the love of God, I do not want to be here that long."
I got
So
30 more years of this.
25 more years. That's like, oh my God, 25 years.
It's a whole
So we'll
lifetime for
see.
some people. Yeah.
We'll see if
I'm
I'm
sure
here.
the world would be happy to have you in it, but I hope you get whatever it is you're wishing for yourself.
Even I would never do this. Listeners don't think I'd do this. I'm not going to kill myself, but it wouldn't work. You know what I mean? I'd try and
Ah,
I'd still be here. Yeah.
honestly, I'm glad you briefly mentioned that, because when we were speaking on death being basically stigmatized, suicide, please talk about it. Suicide ideation, talking about it isn't going to bring it about. And we kind of handle death and suicide in the same way, where we'll just avoid it. The avoidance is where the fear grows, and it's where people are more likely to feel isolated and lonely. Talk about it, talk about it, talk about it. Please educate yourself. Like, it's a huge problem all around the world, but here, just talk about it. Talk to your loved ones.
Well, I got schooled the other day, and I'm glad I got schooled. I was talking about a former student of mine had committed suicide. Well, a friend's son also died in the same way. And she said, "Do not say committed suicide, say died by suicide." And she goes, "You didn't commit cancer and da da da. They died with cancer." And I thought, okay, we just need to be educated. Thank you for telling
Mm-hmm.
me that. I'm glad. I will never say that again.
I love
He
that
died.
perspective, and it helps. So many people have resentment or feel that suicide is selfish. You know, we're all impacted by it differently. But I
Mm-hmm.
love, like, hold space for this person, hold them with grace. You have no idea what was going on. And for some people, it really is like this disease that just goes untreated, untalked about, ignored until you can't take it anymore. So it is
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. It does feel scary, but the more we
Mm-hmm.
talk about it, the more comfortable we get talking about it, and the more people can hear about it. And it's
It doesn't
important.
have to be hidden. Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm
Or
sorry.
shameful. There's no
We've
shame
gotten
in
off
it
track here from
with
you.
these talks. Oh, you're fine. You're fine. This is the work that I do.
Yeah, but you're really cool. We're talking about shadow work now. Are we? Yeah. Okay, Mars, what would you like to talk about? Tell me about yourself. Tell me what you would like the audience to know about you.
Oh gosh. Okay. You got
Because
to edit out the
you
next
got
5
it
minutes
going
where I'm staring
on.
into space thinking. Yeah.
You do.
I
I'm
want people
enjoying
to
you
know that I'm
so much.
here. Say again.
I'm enjoying you so much.
Oh, I'm glad I asked you to repeat that. Thank you. I'm enjoying you as well. I think connecting with people is kind of my favorite part, like animals and people, and learning all these stories and seeing all the ways that life plays out and all the ways that two people could be going through the same situation so differently or coming away with such a
Right.
different interpretation. So I love just knowing people and knowing things. I'm a very curious person. So I guess I just want people to know that I'm here for you to navigate these things that are kind of tricky. And I think true healing comes from community, comes in community, and your community involves the animals around you and it involves the spirit realm. And so I love bridging that gap. And so I think I just want more people to know that I'm here doing this work and that, I don't know, there's so much healing to be had in ways that you don't necessarily think right off the bat. So yeah, I just want you to know I'm here.
And also, sometimes you have to think outside the box for that healing.
It's very true. Very
You know,
true.
therapy is good. I'm not knocking therapy, but there's other modalities too that can also help with that healing.
I think wellness is all about the whole. And so just like I tell people, have a team of therapists, have someone that you go to for trauma work and someone that you go to
Yes.
for just the talk day-to-day therapy, and have your psychic medium who gives you readings every week or every month, whatever you need.
Oh,
But
yeah.
just connect with yourself. That's the biggest learn to sit with and connect with yourself, and it can be uncomfortable and it can be lonely, but then that's where workers like me come along, where I'll hold your hand through it and I'll maybe offer you some insights that sometimes you just have to hear it from someone else. Like there's this idea right now that everything has to come from us. We're in a very individualist society. I have to heal myself, I have to work by myself, I have to support myself. We come from each other. We come from community, and community is where we heal. And there are parts of you that will only come out around other people.
Right.
And so that's the work that I do, the self-discovery, self-improvement industry, I guess. But we're here to do this together. Yeah.
And some people don't want to appear weak, that they need help, but you have a very embracing, loving soul. So that will attract people too.
I love that you said that. You said that just as I was thinking, should I be vulnerable right now? And
Always come from vulnerability.
I was thinking it's
Always.
easy to say what I'm good at or what I'm doing for other people, but I have been through childhood abuse, and I've healed from a young marriage and divorce, and I've healed from grief and loss, and I've healed from my own shadows, and I'm right now I'm in transition. I just moved and I'm re-establishing a relationship with a loved one, and like we're all going through these things together. And I think it's easy when you're with a professional to think that they just have their shit together. Everything's good. Like, listen, we're barely here.
I want to know who has their shit together. I want to know, who are those people? Tell me.
Who are what people? Sorry.
That have their shit together.
Oh,
I want to know who those people are.
I literally couldn't even. Nobody. Everyone is every successful person has just mastered the art of fake it till you make it.
The art of illusion.
Yeah. And that's something I've learned too, is everything in life is just a skill. Charisma, learning to take aligned action, learning to sit with your it's all just a skill. And we're lucky enough as a soul having this human experience that skills are how we learn and grow. And you can learn anything. You can learn anything. And I think once I learned how to learn and learned that I could learn anything, that's when it really took off for me. And so I'm just here to help other people learn themselves, because that you can learn anything. And if there's a version in your head of your life that you want, it already exists and you can get there. And so people like me are just here to help you get there, to be a stepping stone on your way. And taking in that help and letting your healing and your growth be a collaborative effort is 100% the key. Because that's another thing. Like, no successful person did it by themselves. no album that you like was just one person, and no movie that you like was just a single person. Like
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
all connection. It all comes back to our just divine
Mhm.
connection.
Yeah. Okay, Mars, it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Same
And
here.
I think we're going to have you back on, seriously.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And we'll
Thanks so
talk with you
much.
later.
That sounds good,
Okay.
Karen. See you,
Bye
everyone.
bye.